lecture from Mr. Srivastava. So, friends on the dais and friends in the audience, seniors. He has not given his biodata, so I have to only introduce Sir in the most crisp manner as I can. Sir has completed his IRS and he is in the income tax department since more than 2 decades now. And professionally, he has done his masters in economics and Sanskrit. So that means he has got an overall perspective of life, not necessarily only to do with Section 4 or Section 1 of the Income Tax Act. And I say Section 4 and Section 1 because they are also critical sections. So today, I believe it's like this, and I hope you all are enjoying the course that the Chamber has structured for you all. You have learned a little and probably discussed with your friends more. And what you have seen is, up till now, the road that you have traveled is that you have tried to understand the law, you have tried to understand the setting of transfer pricing sections, that 92 to 92F, within the Income Tax Act. Don't forget that transfer pricing legislation is part of the Income Tax Act. It is not some unearthly figure that has come down from heaven to tell us what is transfer pricing. It's part of the Income Tax Act. It is governed by the strictures of the Income Tax Act. Some people may agree, some people may not agree, but the critical part is that it is part of the Income Tax Act. And it's one thing to know the law, it's one thing to try and understand how it is supposed to be administered. So suppose you may have read the OECD guidelines, you may have read a couple of decisions, but that's not the law. The practice of law is when you go and appear before the transfer pricing officer, and you try and understand your case and you try and put up that case before the officer, and then you try and understand the perspective of the revenue authorities. I think if you don't understand the perspective of the revenue authorities, then your understanding is not holistic. So I won't waste time. Sir has got less time, so I would tell Rajesh to present the memento and Mr. Srivastava to educate us. Thanks a lot.
Okay. I hope this is comfortable to you people. It's comfortable to me.
Yeah, that's good.
I have no bad data purposely and asked me today. I had some 4-5 minutes to mail it to him. I chose not to. We are as good as what we do in the present. So when you go to the tax office, sometimes you are going to an officer and you have heard about him that he is very tough. And sometimes you hear that he is very mean. Sometimes you hear that he is very sweet. What comes out eventually, that is important. So what comes out eventually is important, because we tend to form stereotypes, and for the young people especially, it is fair not to keep any stereotypes, any prior viewpoint. Then only you examine something in a neutral manner. Then only you ask questions. If this section says this, or my teachers have taught, or my seniors have taught me this, why it should be this only? Just because somebody has taught you. There is your perspective on it. Because for years, and rather for decades, there was a geocentric concept of the universe, that the sun and moon were revolving around the earth. So when Galileo said that no, it is just the reverse, there was a lot of disquiet. He was eventually put behind the bars. But then we know how science progresses. And even though I don't like to, but I am pretty aware of the fact that some of my misdeeds have caught attention of the organizers and they want me to hear on those controversial topics. Anyway, see, the topic for today is something that I do not disagree with. What is the topic? The approach of the revenue and their expectations. So while I will speak on both the parts, approach of the revenue and on the part expectations. Why I do not agree to this approach of the revenue. Now, when I joined the department after my training in '96 in Calcutta, my immediate superior, he taught me one thing. Listen, you have done the investigation in your case, you have formulated your order in your mind, your arguments. Now you are going to write the order, but before writing the operating para, please pause and just think that there is nothing called pro-revenue and nothing called pro-assessment. You are judge, and every judge has the powers of the divine. You have to give justice. Now this is the concept on which I was taught, or I was initiated into the department. So when we talk about the two different approaches, approach of the revenue and approach of the SSC, we are looking at two adversaries. When there are adversaries, there will be game. There will be Tom and Jerry. So what will happen is anybody's guess. Now, this why we may be approaching something from two different sides. Like this is the nameplate kept over here. It's pyramidal in shape. There is one incline from my side, there is one incline from this side. Supposing I am climbing this, I am climbing from this side, you are climbing from this side. Ultimately we reach here. We culminate here and then the order is passed. Now this is opaque at the moment. I check out this. This is no longer opaque. This is transparent. So you are climbing from that side, I am climbing from this side. We are approaching each other. We know where you are and why you are there. We know what is the gap between our approaches, and eventually we bridge the gap in lesser time and in a much more hospitable manner. Now this was taught to me by some CS in Calcutta. What happens when somebody comes to us? I have read the file, or somebody has told me something about the file. I am having some preconceived notions. Okay, ये तो बहुत चोर है, इसको देख लेना है. Now there may not be something, but I am having my prejudice. So my mind is closed. The closed mind creates opacity. So this is opacity from my side. Now supposing you have come and somebody has taught you or told you, see this officer is very, very mean. Give very little information, as little as possible. Now you are approaching with a closed mind. So if until the paper flaps from both the sides are taken out, we cannot understand each other. We need to be understanding. And this is one thing that I have found in all the successful CAs in my career, whether in Calcutta or in Bombay. Those big names that you hear about, they have this approach. This approach comes to them from their confidence. They have confidence in their skill. They have confidence in their relationship with the department. They have confidence in their SAC. These are the things on which they have confidence. This confidence makes you transparent. So they approach the officer in a very different manner. Sir, this is the case. In this situation, I will say, sir, these are the things. where we are taking this position. These are the things where we have not taken any position, and this is the place where we need your help. This is a discretionary item. This makes the things very easy. He gets this confidence. A junior level person may not have this confidence to start with, but this is something that you learn over a period. So this is what I was saying, that this approach, when we are talking about approach, we need to be aware that ultimately, what is the approach of the living? See, we have started with two different, there was gap in our perceptions. After a process of say 6 weeks or 4 weeks, we have reached a culmination point. Now ultimately, what is the goal of the living? That has to be understood. And what is the role of the chartered accountants? Now another thing that was taught to me, both by the department and by the CAs, was that all the chartered accountants and the practitioners coming to you are your invisible staff. They are like your inspectors. They are like your officers who are working for you. So you have to utilize this energy for your advantage. Now if I say that there is nothing called pro-revenue and nothing called pro-assessing, then both of us, you as well as I, are in a process of discovery of truth. We have to discover the truth. I may be having some gaps, some notions preconceived, and you may be having something that you want to protect, or your client has told you have professional compulsions, and then you say, sir, this is it, and you please take a view, but we want to protect this. On these counts, we have these judgments, these authorities, etc. Now, in the beginning of the civilization, when there was, forget about nations, there was not again family, how taxation was done, and what was the rate of taxation. Now imagine a caveman, because initially we were hunters and gatherers. So there will be tribe, there will be hundreds of people, male, female, old, infirm, kids, infants. In the morning they will go all out to the forest for hunting. In the evening they will come with that day's booty. Then in the evening there will be a fire, they will sit around, they will eat together, and then they will have some fun, go to bed. So what is the taxation here? Whatever income you had, 100% of the income was taxed. Now, why? Before I answer why, I will give you another example. I see that many of you are young people, yet to marry. You get a job. You earn something, say your first salary, 15,000 rupees. You go home very happy, give it to your mother or father. And then mother gives you 2,000 rupees as, or 5,000 rupees as your pocket money. Again, whatever you have earned, you have given 100%. So why in both these situations 100% is given? Because you believe that the person who has taken it from you will spend it for the overall welfare of you and the family. You have that trust. This trust comes from the fairness in the delivery system. And that is why even today in Scandinavian countries, the average tax rate is more than 50%. Still people are very, very happy. They are considered the happiest nations on the world. On Human Development Index, they are again one of the highest. And in all countries, where there is problem with the delivery system, including us, there is more tax evasion and there is more stringent law, draconian rules, survey, etc., etc. Because we do not trust. So there is a theory in public finance that tax compliance is directly proportional to people's perception of the honesty of the administration. So this is a very important thing. So, as I was talking about these two things, how you earn your income and how you give it to the society or to the family, there are two things. One, you give it for your welfare and social welfare. So taxes are for social welfare, including individual welfare. But in a complicated society, or a more complex society, complicated is not a good word, or say a joint family, 3 or 4 brothers, although it has become rare, but still we are fortunate enough to see some joint families in business community today in Bombay also. Now, so long the father is alive, it's working. So father has very judiciously set the targets. That you will give this much, you will give this much, you will give this much. And whatever target is set, is it proportional to the, is it proportionate to the income? You will see that it is not. It is proportionate to their ability to contribute. One brother, even if he is younger and he is earning more, he is stronger, father will give more responsibility to him. Father will give more responsibility to the younger son because he has more ability. The less worthy sons will be given lesser burden. But whatever it is, higher burden or lesser burden, so long the father is there, he has kept the things in a transparent manner. And he has some idea of justice about it. So, when the contribution to the family is being made, this is like taxes being given to the family, the share or the giving of taxes is being governed by the sense of justice of fathers. So, what is the logic for us? The logic is that although the taxes are for individual and social welfare, tax collection has to be essentially governed by judicious mind, by justice. If there is no justice, then it is a bad tax administration. And what is the oath which we officers take at Mussoorie Field? That we shall deliver justice without fear, greed or malice. So, if we are going by this, then there is only one approach, and that approach is of giving justice. There can be practical problems why we are not able to do the justice, but the approach has to be justice oriented. There can be no other approach. If there is a tax administration whose substratum is not justice, then that system will not last long. And it is also not worth to obey such a tax system. Do something wrong. So this sense of justice. Now, I came to Bombay in 1999. We had talked on these things. Now I am talking to you about some practical problems. I have not heard of, I have not read about it. Nobody has ever told me, but I found those days there was some investigation charges, there were some survey cases, and I have to complete the assessment. And I will read, and I will find that in the statement it is written that this disclosure is given in order to buy peace. I couldn't understand it. I went to my boss, what is this? What does this mean? And where are the supporting documents? 35 lakh is being offered and there is no supporting document. This was not the approach in Calcutta in 96 to 99. But this happens. And I am here since 99. I have not been able to change the system. I am not larger or bigger than the system. And so many of you will find that the system is so big. And the reality is that we are not Gandhi, we are not Arvind Kejriwal, we cannot change the system. So what can we do? This lays down between the high ideals of tax and justice and the ground reality. And that is why this kind of lecture sessions get constituted. That okay, let's get somebody from the tax and discuss their perspective. It's a sad state that we have this kind of situation. But when we have this situation, we cannot change it, neither I nor you. So what is the way? The best way is to retain your sanity to the extent possible. It is said that Gandhi used to refuse briefs when he would found that they were based on untruth or fallacies. Now this is a very celebrated aspect of Gandhi's life. So many things have been written about it. But I know that there are many lawyers here who follow the same thing, although not much is talked or written about them. It is not only Gandhi's exclusive preserve that you will refuse something which is unethical. Many chartered accountants routinely advise their clients that boss इस पे टैक्स देना पड़ेगा, ये नहीं कर सकते. We have to say, कि आपकी किस्मत बच गए तो बच गए. If officer asks, you are cornered. So you have to go with the approach. Ultimately, your approach should always be not to play with the officer. Neither let the officer play with his own agenda or the agenda thrust upon him by unscrupulous agents, but to discover the truth. To bring the thing to truth, you have to convince. So you have a double role. One, you are dealing with the client, you have to convince the client, boss ये नहीं चलेगा, आपको इस पे टैक्स देना नहीं पड़ेगा. And then you have to convince the officer. We again have dual role that we have to discover the truth and then we have to explain and convince our bosses. Because there will be gaps in understanding, bosses will think what is happening if they are conniving or something. So long we are sticking to the truth. You are helping in the discovery of the truth. You will be happy. You will go home happier without any tension. You have done your job to the best abilities and the limits in which we are placed. We have existential limitations. Within our limitations, we have done our job. Maybe one or two of you sitting here may tomorrow become somebody who will break this mold. That will be a very happy situation for all of us. But within the constraints, we can still always help discover the truth. 99 I was posted to Tribunal Calcutta Junior Authorized Representative. So again, the first thing that was taught to me by another legendary officer of the department was that you don't have to necessarily argue and defend each and every case of the department. No. There are many cases which are not justified. Don't waste your energy and time on that. You can rely, let the judges decide. You conserve your energy for cases where there is chance, but you feel that there is heavy odds, there you have to prove your matter. So, why he says so? If you go into the rules of the tribunal or the court, or if you go into the principles of jurisprudence, advocates on both the sides are not adversaries. They are officers of the court. They are there to help the court understand the facts and law and help the judges arrive at a judgment. So if you ask me, what do I expect from a person who is coming to me with a case, whether for income tax scrutiny or TP scrutiny, my lookout and the lookout of all the officers in different degrees is always that you will help us understand the case. Wherever there is an attempt to disguise the facts, an attempt to be smart, we don't like it. Wherever there is an upfront approach, so this is this, this is this, this is this, we always appreciate. And you also earn brownie points that if it is possible on certain issue to use the discretion in your favor, this behavior always pleases us to use the discretion in your favor. Now when we use the discretion in your favor, again there is, frankly speaking, no favor. Supreme Court of India and other Supreme Courts in different parts of the world have consistently held that whenever there is a dispute between the state and the citizen, benefit of doubt is to be given to the citizen. So we use this and give it to you. So it is for this reason that we always appreciate such persons who help us. Now there is a jargon in transfer pricing. People will come, they will say, sir, don't worry, we will give you comfort. Now, what is the meaning of comfort? I'll tell you what is the meaning of comfort with TPA. There are 110 transactions. It's a complicated case. And 22 box files. How do you expect the officer to go through? And as it is in India, everything will get sorted in last 3 months only. So in last 3 months, he may be having 100 cases, you may get 3 to 4 hearings, not more than that. So all these things are there. Now I am changing the scene. Seniors who are sitting here, they go to the tribunal. Again, the same issues are there. They have done the briefing to the lawyer. The judges have come, they have already read the file. Now the entire case, sometimes you get in the tribunal just 7 to 8 minutes. Within that 7 to 8 minutes, everything is discussed. How it happens? Because entire document has been paginated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1348. Every relevant thing has been flagged. Sir, paper book number 1102, please read. Now the AO or the TPO who does the basic work, he never gets this kind of comfort from the other side. And the people who are coming, on most occasions, and especially the young people, they are not prepared. If you ask some probing questions, they fumble. For an officer who is under so much of stress for lack